What's up, guys? I hope everybody's doing well. I know I am. Now, we're right back here with the YNW Melly trial. You guys thought we forgot about it? No, we did not. We have the gun expert, basically, in this case, that's going to be challenged by the defense team. Now, keep in mind, he's got himself a few Johnny Cochrans in his corner. I swear, this lady over here is straight up just for emotional support and to keep an eye on Melly. I have a theory already that the woman that's next to him, who's placed next to him, is just there to keep Melly in check as much as she can. But let's get straight into this interrogation, this interview. Make sure you guys get all the things you need, all the beverages. I'm just here chilling, me and the cat. Let's get straight into this thing.
Fellow, at the conclusion of your testimony, I think you should hand out certificates. Fundamental identification of dealing with firearms. That's number one. So you've got a lot of certificates to hand out. Fair enough? Okay. You examined these projectiles and casings on two different dates, correct?
Correct.
One was on, I think your report was 111.
Correct.
And the other one was on 3/3 of 22.
Correct.
111 of 2019, and then 3/3 of 2022.
Correct.
Could you tell us, beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt after all of this examination, how many firearms created these casings and projectiles?
So what I can say is that one firearm fired the casings. So one firearm produced the cartridge cases that were submitted.
See, now I like how he jazzed him up a little bit. He's joking with him, laughing like, oh, you could write a textbook on blah, 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 get them all comfortable. And then he switches on him real quick. Can you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that blah, blah, like the gun produced? I don't even know the question. Let's back it up, actually.
Could you tell us, beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt after all of this examination, how many firearms created these casings and...
How many firearms created these casings? Okay, I don't really see the point of that, but let's see where it goes.
Projectiles?
So what I can say is that one firearm fired the casings. So one firearm produced the cartridge cases that were submitted. And as far as the projectiles are concerned, I can say that two of them came from one firearm, and then the other ones could have come from the same firearm, but I cannot conclusively say that there was one.
Okay, so there could be more than one firearm.
Okay, so we don't know. He's saying that two definitely came from one firearm, and the other bullets or projectiles that I found, he has no clue. They're trying to murky the waters up. They're trying to murk out the waters, trying to make you feel like there's not enough evidence. But personally, they couldn't have me as a juror, obviously, because I listen to the music. I've seen him before. I know who he is. But honestly, man, it would be a lot. It would take me a lot to not convict him, bro. To not convict him. I would have to convict because it's too much evidence pointing that he took out two other black men trying to come up in the world. That's just senseless. Why are you doing that?
That created all of these items, correct?
As far as the projectiles, yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, after you did all of this analysis, were you able to determine what gun was used to create these projectiles and cases?
It was a .40 cal, baby.
No, in the absence of a firearm, I cannot conclusively say it was one or the other.
Have you heard the term trajectory reconstruction?
Yes.
What is that?
So that's typically an examination that's done using either rods, some people use lasers, to match points on a line that would designate the trajectory of a projectile as it was traveling.
And that would be able to place, supposedly, if you can do it, where the shooter or shooters were when they fired the firearms.
Certainly, at least the firearm. Oh, it would be.
So obviously, come on people, you know what's going on. Obviously, this is the method they use. There's a bunch of poles and shit yellow, green, purple. It looks like a swimming pool out there. Like, you know, the spongies that they have that you float on. It's like all them spongies are just going through the chair. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he's going to take it to the extent that these tests and these directions aren't accurate at all. You know what I mean? He's going to start with the basis of why they're not accurate, and he's going to, like, you know, expound on that as much as he can. Make it seem like the whole method is just, you know, just a shitty method in general. Let's find out.
The muzzle of the firearm is technically the origin point. Yes.
And that would be in someone's hand,
Somebody's
correct?
Right.
Let me see that. What we're talking about is being able to tell where the muzzle was, so you in essence would be able to tell where the shooter.
Correct. Yes.
I just wanted to play with you.
No problem.
Okay. When you do a trajectory reconstruction and you're attempting to find out where the gun is and where the so-called shooter or shooters were, are there certain variables that come into play?
Certainly, there's a lot of variables that come into play.
Why don't you tell us what some of the variables are?
So some of the variables that can come into play is whether or not there were intervening objects. So do you have a beginning and an end point? Do you have a middle point? Right. So if I only have, as an example, a hole in a wall, but I don't have anything else, I don't have somewhere I could put a rod through, or that I could start the directionality of a laser from. Right. So without that, I'm basically dead in the water, because I could start it from any point in this room. Because let's say there's a bullet hole in that exit sign back there, and that's the only hole that I have, it'd be very difficult for me to be able to place where the person originated from. Now, if an object is, let's say, three-dimensional, not two-dimensional, and the bullet travels through that object, then you could pass the rod through and then find a directionality.
So basically, you can't have anything that's flat. You don't want a wall, a piece of paper, because you could basically put that angle at any point that you'd like, you know what I mean? But if you have something like a car seat, something that's fleshy, something that has some room to travel, some thickness into it, then you can easily place the direction with a rod, because it'll just fit that way and it'll show you exactly the angle. So honestly, I think the test worked out because they're car seats, you know? So all the bullets that, you know, the staged drive-by, all those bullets have a bunch of car seat that you could clearly point all the directions of the projectiles. So let's move on.
There's still variables with that. How far away were they? How close were they? And so that's kind of, it gives you a line, but the point upon the line that the firearm was is the question.
How about how the, may I approach, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
How the person held the gun.
Sure.
There's a thing called holding it tight.
Mm-hmm.
That could affect how you position the shooter or shooters, correct?
Sure.
If he holds it upside down or sideways,
The origin point should technically still be the same,
Okay.
technically speaking.
okay. How about, we said tight, how about if he holds it very loose?
If you limp wrist, as we would call it.
What's that term?
Limp wristing.
You're way
Yes.
above me.
Come on, you know he ain't no idiot. This guy has like 15 guns in his closet. The baldhead lawyer, please trust me. He has like 5 firearms. He knows what limp wrist means. But yes, it's really true. If you limp wrist a gun, you can make the shit jam. You know, you could make it go in a direction that you didn't intend it to go, like dramatically. You know what I mean? So it's a big thing, and especially if you're in a cramped car, that could come into play.
Yeah, so normally when you're firing a firearm, you want to try to cradle the weight of the firearm, and that's usually in your wrist. Limp wristing is just you're letting your wrist kind of rock with the firearm. And so while the origin point may be similar, the trajectory of the projectile leaving the barrel may be different.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You could be dramatically off.
How about the weather conditions?
So as far as trajectory is concerned, it can play a role over significant distance. So whether, I'm sure most of us have heard or seen stories of people making sniper shots at a mile or a quarter mile or 3/4 of a mile. When you're shooting at distances like that, you have to take into account weather, wind. You actually have to take into account the rotation of the earth. So the people who can shoot out at that distance are exceptionally rare. But to be accurate at those distances, you have to be able to mitigate for gravity, wind, and for the spinning of the earth.
Okay, all right. We're talking about some Mission Impossible shit. Please, this was a close contact shooting, so I don't really know how this helps the defense, but it does exclude that, you know, the weather plays no role in a close contact shooting, you know? So if you're shooting at somebody in the rain with a .40 caliber and they're right next door to you, the bullet will travel where you send it, you know what I mean?
So those are factors that can play a role in significant distance. Now, if we're talking about a distance of 2 feet or 3 feet, then the weather is going to play a much less significant role.
How about the object that the projectile hits?
Yes, I can certainly.
Like glass?
Right, so whether it's glass and the type of glass plays a role. Is it impact glass? Is it tempered glass? Is it standard glass? So all of these things can play a role. Is it a thicker pane of glass? Is it bulletproof glass? Is it soundproof glass? So I mean, there's a lot of different variabilities.
And you know, with all these new cars, I follow this guy on YouTube. He has like super curly hair, and he's like, he reviews cars and shit. Man, the new cars out here are insane, bro. Like, I saw this one TRX truck, and it had like just built-in like super hardened glass or some shit, basically bulletproof glass. Like, the shit was crazy. So these newer cars nowadays do have a lot of things that could change, you know, the projectile of a bullet. So like, you know, I think what the defense is trying to say is that there's too much unknown for the defense attorney to just say, yeah, you were in the car, you aimed at them and shot them. That's for sure. You know, he's saying there's way too much variables.
And obviously the thickness of that glass plays a role. The thicker the glass is, the more likely that the projectile is going to be significantly damaged and change its flight after it leaves that glass. Also, the angle of impact where it hits the glass can change after it travels through. But you might have a projectile that's traveling straight at glass, and then after it passes through the projectile, through the glass, it can travel downward, it can travel upwards. It all depends on the angles of the glass and the angle that the projectile was approaching the glass at.
And that's a scary fucking thing to think about, bro. Imagine you're shooting into a car, you're the receiver, and that shit punctures through the glass. You don't know where the fuck that's going. You don't know if that's going to your head. You don't know if that's going to your homie's heart. You don't know if that's going to your nuts. You don't know where that shit's going. Like, being in a shootout, yeah, not on my bucket list. Not for me. If I have to, I will, but shit.
How about the grain weight of the ammunition?
So of the projectile itself?
Yeah.
So that can play a role because obviously the heavier an object is, with the force being applied to it, the more likely it is to stay in its directed path. That's kind of going back to that sniper scenario. That's why most snipers are using very large calibers. They are more likely to stay in flight longer and be less subjected to these changes than lighter, smaller projectiles.
You want that heavy shit, that heavy duty. Punch through that air, that turbulence.
And if the shooting occurred inside a car, for instance, would the arm length matter of the so-called shooter or shooters?
It could.
And whether or not the person was leaning in one direction?
Sure. Yeah, you're working in a very small environment.
Okay, so there's a lot of variables.
See what I tell you?
Must...
What I tell you? There's too many variables for us to be sure, ladies and gentlemen. This is all bullshit. Now, to a certain degree of myself, I feel like, yeah, that is true. But what are they going to do about the cell phone data? What are they going to do about the lie? That's the biggest thing for me. The lie about the shootout on the highway. Nothing found on the highway. That's my biggest thing. What did they do to explain that away? I want to see the other lawyer come up with this Johnny Cochran shit. I want to see what's going on.
Take into consideration.
Yes.
Before you say, where the gun was or where the shooter or shooters were when they fired this firearm.
Right.
And if you don't take those variables into consideration, you're just giving a guesstimate, estimate of where everybody was, correct?
I assume so. I mean, I have to see the situation, but yes.
Okay. And you would consider that to be not proof beyond exclusion.
Objection. Oh, let's go. Let's go. And you would consider that. Now, he has to rephrase that, but what did I say? Lawyers just want to get their shit off. But remember, the jury's right here. They're watching this shit attentively. So if he said it like that, it's in their head. It's been said. Objection, Your Honor. Yeah, I mean, he can't answer that, but the jury already heard it. So let's rephrase it. I don't even know how he's going to rephrase that shit. Oh, is he done? Oh, is he done? Oh, hold on. Back that up.
Not proof.
Yes.
Okay. And you would consider that to be not proof beyond exclusion.
Just walks away. Smooth. Rephrase it. Come on now. Don't leave us guessing.
As a manager of the Broward Sheriff's Office.
Bro, that's it. See? He just dropped that in there. It was for the jury. He knew he was going to get objected to immediately. It's just, he has good lawyers. That's all I could say. These guys, they've been doing this shit for years, man. This is their DNA. They know what the fuck is going on.
Tool and what's the title? Tool and
Fireman tool work unit.
Okay. You certainly would want to take all those variables in before you told this jury or any jury.
Yeah, scientifically, I would want to make sure that I'm accounting for as many variables as possible whenever rendering an opinion.
Otherwise, it would be just a guess, an estimate, right?
Ooh, he got him to say yes. Otherwise, it would just be a guess. A guesstimate. Yes. That's what he hit him with, bro. And I mean, shit. You're the jury. You don't know who the fuck this kid is. That's the beautiful thing about selecting a jury. You don't know who the fuck this kid is. You don't have any prior feelings about him. He's just some fucking kid with tattoos on his face looking like a dodo bird in court. And you need to make a decision about him. Now, these guys are on a hot streak. Now, we started the YNW Melly case with, the prosecutor doing her little speech. But these lawyers, man, all I could say is I enjoy the way they spar with each other because they come back and motion for a mistrial. Now, obviously, in my opinion, I don't think they're going to get that shit. The judge doesn't think they're going to get that shit. But just the effort. These boys' pockets begin laced with that money. Let's see what's going on.
Sure as I could predict that Tuesday comes after Monday.
As sure as I could predict that Tuesday comes after Monday. That's how he starts this shit. You know what I mean? It reminds me of myself, the way I was like, OJ killed his wife and lover, YNW Melly killed his friends. Like, he kind of hit him with the same type of flow. But anyway, let me stop pausing it. Let's see what's going on.
I made sure to stay up till 2 o'clock last night to get these cases, to alert the court to what was the state's obvious intention. To put a witness on there for the purpose of introducing out-of-court statements that are otherwise inadmissible, instead of at least admitting that that was what the state intended to do, it advanced a ruse pretext that they were seeking to do so under 8035. It turns out that 8035, given the witness's testimony, could not be employed. And so the state then went back to Plan 1, the original one all along, of the state reading evidence from written documents and out-of-court statements, including police reports, statements on Instagram, arguments being had, into the record. Through the state's own mouth, knowing very well that it was improper, that the court had ruled.
Oh, and that's why they always say, You can read it. You can read it to yourself, and then we'll talk about it. You know, read it to yourself. Read it to yourself. I think it's to avoid certain things like this. So he's trying to hit them on the technicality. He's saying that they're leaking evidence in front of the jury that isn't supposed to be there. Now, I mean, if there's anything like this, I feel like it actually can call for a mistrial. If the defense is actually trying to use witnesses to spoon feed them certain facts, you know, to get it into court that otherwise wasn't allowed, then, I mean, what can you say? The judge doesn't look like he's having it. He's over there looking like, I don't know. But hey, he's listening. This is no Daryl Brooks talking. This is an eloquent speaking man who could place a story, set it up for you, and sell you some shit. Like,
that it should not and could not be done, and it does not somehow become relevant because they declare hostility, which they knew about from the inception. The state made a representation to this court that it was a complete surprise. That's not a credible statement. I think it is incumbent upon this court to discern the veracity of that contention. There was a witness there, happened to be Ms. Holmes's lawyer. He's present. The state essentially tried to circumvent the rules, circumvent the order of this court, and testify to this jury about documents and information that it wanted to put before the jury, which it found no permissible way to do.
see, now this is the main thing right here. Again, if they're leaking shit into the court that's not supposed to be there because both parties and the judge said, yeah, you can't, this piece of evidence can't go in. So then they bring a witness up and then they spoon feed them little driplets of information that's not supposed to be there. I mean, shit. What else can you say? Now, these guys are good. So any small technicality that these guys mess up on, even if it was a mistake, they're going to jump on top of that. They're going to pounce it. They're going to tear it apart. You know why? Because if they get Melly off, who do you think he's going to call when he's off? Them. They saved his life. Where do you think all that business is going? Them. These guys are in the NBA, bro. They're in the pro league. They're out here throwing up threes right now, trying to win. They're out here looking for the W. There's no, in their heads, they've programmed themselves already. We're getting this W. There's no loss in our heads right now. We're getting this dub no matter what. So yeah, they're on it. We'll see what happens.
Warned the state, I don't want you trying to go through the back door, but you can't get through the front door, and they launched immediately into that pursuit. The jury sat there while the state made implication after implication, introduced admissible evidence after admissible evidence to the substantial prejudice of this defendant. And so not only did they do it after we raised the issue, they did it after the court ruled against the state and admonished the state not to do just that. And they launched into that pursuit. Mr. Devins has been prejudiced. This jury sat there and watched this fiasco unfold with at least 10, maybe 15 sidebars after every 2 questions, with the implications that were being all predicated on the implications and the inadmissible testimony that Ms. Bradley herself read into and spoke into the record. And for that reason...
Hey, I don't know how true it is, man. See, I didn't catch that, but these guys are professionals, man. This makes me think, what would have happened if Alex Murdaugh had these lawyers? What would have happened if Daryl Brooks had these lawyers? You know what I mean? Possibly they wouldn't have taken the case, but if, you know, the dollar speaks money, man. The dollar speaks everything. If you could pay it, they'll do it. So just makes you think.
Reason, we think that it was deliberate. It is highly prejudicial. This jury has been tainted, and we move for a mistrial.
Damn.
Oh, there's one more thing. if you don't mind, I'll have Mr. Alistine articulate what that means.
This is your motion for Mr. Armstrong?
Yes, it's our motion for mistrial.
This is the second one. All right, go ahead.
Well, it's second one. Judge, in my entire career, I've never heard the state.
Now this is the feisty one right here. The white guy is the feisty one. He loses his lid when something goes the wrong way. You know what I mean? And I think it's not even his personal feelings. This is a strategy. The black guy, you know, he's the cool, laid back, you know, I'm gonna talk all this and cool, and he's the hothead. When something goes wrong, oh, he's gonna make a scene about it. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? They play that little. It's not even good cop, bad cop, but they play off of that with each other. They're good at what they do.
Imply with no evidence whatsoever that the defense team would take care of this witness. And even though the court gave that instruction and told them to ignore it, that question, the defense team would take care of you if you answered like this, is so improper. Not only does it taint our client on the other questions, but it taints everybody at this table. And despite the judge, Your Honor.
Yo, that's the work up. That's a man who's worked up because he getting that money, bro. You see what I mean? It's that hyper energy and it's that low key smooth energy, and they play that to a T.
There's instruction to ignore it. It's pretty hard to ignore something like that when their entire questioning for the last 30, 40 minutes have been so improper, and the court told them not to do it. And they proceeded and proceeded and proceeded. We're moving for a mistrial.
And just for the record, Your Honor, I personally,
We're moving for a mistrial. Throws the book on the table. My boy out here doing the most. He out here doing the absolute most, bro. I love it.
have seen Ms. Holmes in the flesh or spoken to her twice ever at that deposition and today. Never by phone, never by text. Couldn't distinguish her from a can of paint until she showed up for the depot, and I haven't spoken to her since. So just to let the court know, there is no factual predicate for the implication, or not implication, the accusation made by the state that the defense sought to take care of her.
And the same for me. I met her at the depot and saw her today.
For the record, it was my first time ever seeing her in my life.
Yo, I'm telling you, this woman, the woman who just stood up, I've never seen her before in my life. She's there for Melly. She's the woman figure, and she's there to pinch him in the shoulder when he starts acting a little too crazy, you know? She's like, hey, get together, you know what I mean? She's that one. She's the one to keep him, you know, likable. Because what I'm seeing on social media right now is the homie's liked right now. You know, he's talking to her. She's trying to make him laugh and smile and giggle. It's good press. I don't know if it makes any difference. Again, the jury doesn't see this, but she's there to make him look good while the jury's present also. I'm telling you, that's what she's there for. I'm sure she'll give an argument. She'll do her thing, but that's what she's been placed there for. If you notice, every day she's right next to him right there. These two gentlemen will switch up. They'll do this, they'll do that, they'll take lead, but she'll be right next to him.
Thank you. All done, guys? Counsel?
Yes.
Yes, madam?
Judge, with regards to that, the statements that were in the records are what was used as impeachment, where it says they said that they were going to take care of us. Defense read into it and implied it meant it was never said the defense team in any way, shape, or form. So defense implied or read into that in some additional context that was not intended in any way, shape, or form.
Did you see that? Hold on. He's like, no, let him go. He's about to blow his lid. Watch the lawyer, the bald head lawyer. Check him out real quick.
In any way, shape, or form. So defense implied or read into that in some additional context that was not intended.
It's like, no. Nah, boy, nah, down. Nah, don't shook him yet. No, hold it down, boy. Hold it. Man, he's the pit bull in the courtroom. I'm telling you, this is all a show. Not a show, but, you know, it's a show of force. You know what I mean? We're not going to tolerate zero. we're you know what I mean?
in any way, shape, or form. I was basing it on based in the records and the statements that this witness made and put forth in her Instagram account about this case on that. And it's very, in terms of the forming the questions, Your Honor, it was understood that I was put under very strict and difficult conditions to formulate any question, because defense obviously wants to limit, because they know the contents of what this individual has said and all of the statements that she has made that are damaging to their client. Hence why the state would be seeking to use her as a witness.
That means nothing, Your Honor. The fact that it's damaging, I'll concede that. It's inadmissible.
Doesn't matter.
And the status of this impression that there is a catch-all, we're only trying to seek justice and do good, exception to all the rules of evidence. And there is no such thing.
There is no such thing, you know? We're just trying to get the bad guys, so we're just doing it. No, you gotta go by the rules. That's the point of the fucking legal system. If you don't go by the rules, then it's a whole it's a free-for-all, bro. Just don't have no jails. Just let people do whatever the fuck they want. You know what I mean? Damn near happening anyway, so... Yeah. I agree.
Admitted through an admissible procedure. You don't try and end around the court's order and the case law by coming in on some pretext and doing exactly what I told the court would happen and create an entire prejudicial fiasco and introduce inadmissible evidence into the record. That's what occurred, and this jury has been irreparably prejudiced.
Goddamn. Well, goddamn. You know, the judge is gonna have to consider that. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 80% sure the mistrial is not gonna go through. But it's gonna put the prosecutors on shaky waters. They're like, damn, these guys are already ready to end this thing. You know what I mean? Imagine the trial lasted 1 week and that was it. Free Melly. That would be insane. You know what I mean? They have to take their time if they really want this. They have one shot. And you know, I'm just here for the ride. You know, I'm pretty sure Melly did it. If there's some crazy mic drop piece of evidence that really shakes up my mindset, I might change my mind. But for right now, I mean, all you could do is watch and see, man. These guys he has some top-notch lawyers, I'll tell you that much. Anyways, y'all, love you guys. You guys almost had me to 5K. You guys asked me how far? I'm at 4,915 at the recording of this video. So fuck yeah, like what, 2-3 days? We're there, people. You know what I mean? We got to the 5, we're going to the 10. Love y'all. Until the next one, stay inside, y'all. Stay safe. See ya.